where we decide to travel, where we decide to study, what movies we decide to watch. That is also part of the soft power puzzle. With soft power opportunities, what we're looking for is opportunities for people from different countries to interact with each other. China has really opened up a lot. And I think the strength of its soft power depends on its openness to the rest of the world.
What is soft power?
Soft power is a kind of political power, and it's really a country's ability to persuade other countries' point of view through attraction rather than coercion. So at an individual level, it's these actions that people take that show that they're interested in a foreign country. I think that's the fundamental thing that we can use to measure soft power. What does a person do when they're interested in another country? The obvious thing is that they may visit the country or they may watch movies from that country. And if you're really curious, you'll go study there, or maybe you'll even immigrate to that country. That's one level. Then there's the other level, the collective level, which is what soft power is also about. It's like, if my country is under attack, which other countries are going to help me? And of course, some countries are going to help me because they calculate, this is in my best interest to help this other country. But other countries are going to help you because they feel like we're friends. And when your enemies attack you, then we're going to help you out. So that is a situation where those other countries feel like my country is part of them. So they think of us as we rather than as they. And so that's a different mindset in that relationship between those countries. And so I think soft power is about that too. When there's a situation, a crisis, kind of a problem situation, who's going to stand with you because they feel like we are part of the same community? And the third thing that I think sometimes gets underestimated with soft power is really about relationships between specific countries. So if we think of Canada has soft power, right? Canada's soft power relationship with the United States is different from its soft power relationship with Mexico, different from its soft power relationship with European countries. So really, when we talk about soft power, we should look at that individual relationship between countries in order to understand it. A lot of other people who study soft power, they focus on things like aid programs, cultural exchange programs, movie production, and stuff like that. And I think all that is very important and very good. But I also think that in terms of understanding soft power, the objective for those kinds of programs in trying to promote soft power should be in trying to get people to engage with each other. So if you have a lot of foreigners who like to watch your movies, we're seeing this with South Korea now. A lot of people really enjoy South Korean videos and dramas and TV programs, but that is going to really enhance Korea's soft power when people start to go to South Korea because they're so curious. They want to see the movie set, they want to see the character. And guess what? They go to South Korea, they meet actual real South Koreans. That's the key. That's the key, where they really get to really know, because we all know what you see on TV is not exactly real, right? You can't go to war and defend a country based on what you saw in a movie. Nobody's going to do that. But if you've actually met people and you made friends, and some of these people are just going for trips, but some people are going, they want to learn Korean. That's going to take a while. So then they're going to live there and they're going to make friends with Koreans. That is the engine where media and communications kind of leads to soft power. That's really the thing that you want to go to. If you've got a situation, which we do have with some countries, I won't name names, if you've got a situation where you're producing a lot of TV programs and nobody is watching them, that is not going to contribute to your soft power. So that's really the key.
How does China's soft power compare with other countries?
I look at 3 indicators to see if foreigners are showing an interest. The first indicator is how many immigrants come into those countries. Second, how many foreign students come in to study there. And the third one is foreign visitors. And for immigration, if you look at the 2024 numbers, China has 1.6 million immigrants from other countries, 44th largest immigrant community in the world. You have to remember that as recently as 1978, the country was completely closed, almost zero foreigners in the country. So in that sense, when you look back over the change over time, China has really opened up a lot. And I think the strength of its soft power relationships depends on its openness to the rest of the world. So by 2023, there are over 200,000 Foreign students in China mostly come from Korea, Japan, and Vietnam, according to the statistics. And in 2019, there were 163 million visitors. That's up from 2 million in 1990. So from 2 to 163, that is a huge change. Now, there is an interesting story in the foreign visitor numbers, is because before Hong Kong and Macau were returned to China, they reported their statistics independently. And today, they are still reporting their statistics independently. So about half the foreign visitors in the China data are from Hong Kong and Macau. So you have to kind of think about that in terms of what you're trying to understand about China. However, even if you take the Hong Kong, Macau visitors out, there's still a lot of foreign visitors in China. What's important here is the level of engagement. How many foreigners get a chance to meet and interact with ordinary Chinese? That affects their view of China. And then also for ordinary Chinese, when they interact with foreigners, that affects their view of other countries as well. So this is a kind of mutual relationship and mutual opportunity. I'll give a few data points about the United States. You get a sense for the comparison. The US has the largest immigrant community in the world. In 2024, that was 52 million immigrants. The second largest immigrant community in Germany is at 17 million. So that's quite a big gap. These communities are sizable in the United States. Foreign students and foreign immigrants, much larger than anything that you see in any other country. I really want to caution, just because you have a lot of soft power resources doesn't mean you're going to win every negotiation. Just as if you have the biggest military in the world doesn't mean you're going to win the war. There's a lot of factors at play. Just because you have the biggest GDP doesn't mean you win every trade negotiation. It helps a lot. I think it increases the likelihood of success. And definitely, if you deplete your resources, if you deplete your GDP, if you deplete your soft power resources, you're going to increase your likelihood of failure, right? But again, these are not guarantees. It's just an indication of where things stand.
What does the future of soft power look like for China and other countries?
Elinor Ostrom, who is a Nobel Prize winner in economics, she did a lot of research on trust and cooperation. And really, she tried to understand how strangers who didn't know each other before can learn to trust each other enough to cooperate to solve problems. And this is one of the important questions about soft power, because we are interested in soft power, partly because we want to understand how we can work with other countries to solve problems through attraction and persuasion rather than by coercion. Ostrom found that when people had the opportunity to interact with each other, and in her case, mostly face-to-face, if they were able to interact with each other frequently over time, then they were able to learn to trust each other and solve problems together. And she did things like run experimental games where strangers had a chance to win a bigger prize if they could cooperate compared to those who didn't. And then she looked at real-life situations like farmers who were sharing water. If they could cooperate, then they would all prosper. And if one person undermines the system, then everybody is in difficulty. So she did a whole range of this kind of research. And so I think with soft power opportunities, what we're looking for is opportunities for people, civil society, people from different countries to interact with each other. And it can be face-to-face. I think it can be mediated. I think, the communications technology has progressed a lot since Dr. Ostrom did her work. So we can form relationships, real relationships, through mediated communications as well. And I think for China, we can see from the data, foreigners are interested in studying in China. So that's a real opportunity. And foreign visitors are interested in going to China for shorter trips. And that's another opportunity. And I think the kinds of things that the National Committee does, to promote relationships, this is very important. And it's especially critical if you can do that over time. And I've noticed in my own research that people who got to know each other and cooperate together for one thing, like promoting a cultural festival, once they get to know each other, they can pivot and do other things, like help provide aid for natural disaster. So these kinds of communities can be very flexible and can be quite resilient. And so they're important to build, but it does take time. Now, a second opportunity, India has a lot more people who have emigrated out of the country and who have gone abroad to study than they host as visitors. They have a lot of immigrants, but mostly from nearby countries. So they have a lot of Indians abroad. And I do think that that is also another soft power opportunity, because those Indians abroad engage with people around the world, and those foreigners then get a taste for what Indian culture is like, for what Indian people are like. And I think a similar opportunity exists for China, because there's a lot of Chinese immigrants abroad and a lot of Chinese students abroad. And the last thing I'd like to say is that, these soft power relationships, they're mutual. So everyone who's involved in a relationship changes and grows. And so for some countries, that's a little bit of a risk. For some countries, they really feel like that's an opportunity. It kind of depends on your attitude. But it also means that at an individual level, where we decide to visit, where we decide to travel, where we decide to study, what movies we decide to watch, that is also part of the soft power puzzle. So that's kind of an interesting thing to think about.